slow down. I wanna live right now. I'm not worried, thinking about tomorrow. I'm feeling everything I need from you. It's all I believe in. I know you feel it too. Will everything we know be lost and changed for something new? Only time will tell, but I'll be holding you. 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 Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling fearless. Exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance. Not the life I want to live, I want to take it all. Standing tall, fear outweighed the person you are. Oh, break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.
What is going on, Patreon members? This is an exclusive live stream. If you made it in from the outside, you will be kicked. This will be covering our leverage sheet settings, advanced settings, everything that you need to know. If you are a Patreon member, I want to make sure you know exactly what you are doing when constructing lineups for MLB. You do not have to have Fantasy Cruncher to use my leverage sheet. You do need to have a brain though. Okay, I'm going to show you how to use leverage sheet, the leverage sheet, when you're going into each one of your contests and deciding what contests to choose, what lineups to choose to put in this contest, because when you construct one lineup, You do not simply look at the leverage spots that I list out and then play it in every single contest. That is not the way to do it. And I've learned over the past 24 hours. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of you that have been looking at my favorite leverage spot, aka Oakland, playing them in double ups. First of all, playing them in single entry GBPs, playing them in small GBPs, playing them in big GBPs, playing them in everything. That is not the way to do it. I list my favorite leverage spots because of just kind of like a guidance for you guys, okay? So when you look at my leverage sheet, they are technically in the best leverage spot, okay? Doesn't mean that they're good in every single contest. It means if you play them, they should overperform based on the ownership, based on the projections, okay? That is what that trend column is for. What's going on, guys? By the way, I came out with a bang. I came out with motivation. Okay, so what's going on, first of all? And second of all, I want you to look on the screen, okay? I want you guys to grasp the concept. And for all you guys that have heard this before, I do apologize, but let's go over this. Pretend. Let's actually, do you know what? I wish I could make my screen black. Whatever. All right, pretend. Just close your eyes for a second. Pretend like you are playing a game of Texas Hold'em for you gamblers out there, okay? Pretend you're playing Texas Hold'em. But instead, you get to choose your cards, right? You get to choose your cards. Choose any 2 cards. What 2 cards are you going to choose? Probably 2 aces, right? You get to choose any 2 cards. Let's also pretend that you have 10 other people around you at that table. A 10-person contest, all right? A 10-person table. But you know those other people get to choose their cards too, right? You think that those other guys at the table, you think that the majority of them are going to pick 2 aces, right? Because those are the strongest card. Obviously, the best combination you can possibly get in a hand is 2 aces, right? But what if you go ace-king? Nobody else has double aces or has ace-king, right? There's a small percentage. But what if other people are thinking that same thing? Maybe you go an ace-queen or maybe double kings, okay? Think of it like you're sitting at a table in Texas Hold'em waiting for the river, waiting to get waiting on that turn, waiting for you to cash out. You want to be contrarian. Would you play double aces if everybody at that table has double aces? Probably not, and I hope that you wouldn't do that because you want to be slightly different. That same kind of mindset applies for when you are playing DFS. However, the tables are a lot bigger. There's a lot more cards to choose from. There's a lot more options, okay? If you have that mindset going into every single contest, no matter what, you will be successful because the ownership does not make sense in some of these contests. Would you play a 2-3 in a 10-person contest and at a 10-person table? Would you play a 2-3? No, probably not because those are very bad cards. Why would you do that? Especially if everybody's going to have double aces. Okay? If everybody in that 10-person contest is going to play the Colorado Rockies tonight, would you play the Oakland A's? Probably not. They're not that great of a hitting team. Okay? They're just not. They're not projected as much as they are. Not far off. I'm using 2 big extremes here. But that is the mindset that you need to have when picking out contests, when picking out different tables, okay? So if we kind of refresh for a second and look at the screen in front of me, this top one was 1,000-person GPP. 1,000 people got to pick their cards. 1,000 people got to pick the Colorado Rockies. A lot of people went with double aces. A lot of people went with the Colorado Rockies. I faded all the Rockies, all the Giants, all the Nats. I believe they were high on yesterday. And this is what I got. I got a $6 profit. Oh, well, whatever. Okay, whatever. I didn't cash that much in that one. This one was a 147-person contest. Based on the percentage ownership, it made sense to just go a little bit under the leverage. Maybe go double queens. Maybe go double tens. I went with the Angels, the Cubs, and the White Sox, I believe. They were decently owned, but they were good leverage spots from that team. The Rockies, okay, and the Nats. Those were the 2 highest guys. That's how I won that GPP. I got second place at least. I was literally 0.7 off of first. But that's how I won that one, okay? And this one, this 33-person one, I went ace king. I went with the Colorado Rockies and the Angels. So I guess you could basically say an ace 10, ace king, okay, or an ace queen, okay? You guys get the point. I hope that I painted a good picture for you guys, okay? It is the exact same thing, and the way that sharks play are the exact same way. Yes, the flop didn't work out. The way that this contest played out wasn't the way that I wanted it to play out. But in this one, it did. It worked out because I played the percentages correct and they made money. On this one, I did not. All right. Unfortunately, too much of the chalk hit, and then not enough of my cards did. Okay. And if you go down to NBA, I actually have some NBA. This one ended up being okay, and then my NBA. This one yesterday on the chalk hit, so my double aces did hit, and I ended up winning that contest. If you have that mindset going into each one of these contests, you guys will come out profitable, and that right there, guys, is how to utilize my leverage sheet. Let's observe. All right, we're going to look at tonight. Yes, the A's are in the best leverage spot. Does that mean that they are the play in every single contest? No, that doesn't mean that. That does not mean that the A's you should be playing in every single contest, okay? You also have to observe the ownership. The ownership is by far the most important thing. So if we actually look here, the Chicago Cubs, a lot of people will be on the Chicago Cubs. Those double aces. Well, a lot of people will have an ace king. Maybe I should just throw that analogy out of the water. Hopefully that did help you guys get past to this point, though, okay? But a lot of people will have the Cubs. Okay, too many, because it's red. That means they're inflated. That means they are not a smart play. As of right now, of course, this is all subject to change, and I update the ownerships throughout the day. Not enough people have the A's. Okay, so how do we bring this into our fantasy cruncher, and how do we start picking contests? Okay, let's actually switch over, and let's go to a contest. Let's just go to a 3-person contest, right? We're trying to beat 2 other people. How many times have I said, in order to maximize your return on a cash lineup, the most popular lineup possible, you need to play in a 3-man contest, okay? You just need to. That's just how you do it, okay? Let's go ahead and enter this $10 best of, you have to beat 2 other people to triple up your money, okay? How do I construct my lineup for very small contests? Well, you don't need to get different, first of all, in 3-man contests. You can get different by 1%, 2%, whatever. But what you have to do is first find the benchmark. The benchmark is by far the most important thing that you need to find out on any slate. Let's calculate by ownership. And for you guys who don't have the premium package for Fantasy Cruncher, that's okay. First of all, I listed out all the cash plays on my Patreon. You can pick from that list, and you will get a high-owned lineup. Okay, but I do recommend getting Fantasy Cruncher for this reason because it's a lot more efficient. And if you don't have it, you will become a better DFS player as long as you are utilizing the tools correctly that are put in front of you. Okay, let's crunch this lineup. This is the chalkiest lineup. Look at that. It's actually a 5-stack of the Cubs. Okay. It is the 5-stack Cubs with Trout, Kepler, and it's funny because it doesn't even have Colorado. We'll see if that changes. But the one reason that we're getting this lineup out is, one, to enter into this 3-person contest so I can get the chalk out of the way. If the chalk hits and it hits hard, then I cash in that contest. Cool, awesome. But the main reason is to look at this ownership. Okay, 203.4. And yes, this will all make sense, guys. Just bear with me here. In about 20 minutes, we'll get to everything you need to know about the advanced settings, okay? 203.4 is the benchmark. That is very crucial because ownership does change from slate size to slate, okay? It changes every single time. All right, let's go ahead and put this down to 48,500. Now, let's crank up my randomness. Let's just crank it up to 500. Change all players. Let's start putting some team stacks in here, and I will show you guys how to start putting different lineups into your contests, okay? Let's go ahead and do a 5-stack. Make the exposure. Let's make 5% across the board so I have a lot of everybody. All right, and let's go ahead and force a 2-stack. Let's make this, I don't know, 20% across the board. All right. Again, the advanced settings don't matter as much until you start picking out lineups, but this gives me a huge net of teams to choose from. Okay, let's do this. Let's do that. Remember, my benchmark is at 203. All right, let's start crunching these lineups as much as it possibly can. And again, pretend these ownerships are set in stone. Pretend I'm 30 minutes to lock, and I'm starting to crunch my lineups, and I'm starting to decide where my lineups are going. Okay? You always want a 5-stack of a team to capitalize on the upside. That's just known at this point, guys. If I haven't made that clear, you know now, okay? 5-stack for a team capitalizes the upside, maximizes the upside on these teams. Also, guys, it sounds like you are, or it looks like you are listening. No questions. Matt, what is the best way you'll spend $8 in GPPs? I do prefer, if that is just in GPPs, you should have $8 in double ups or small GPPs. The extra $8 should be put into medium and big GPPs. That's how you should do it. I believe you sent me a Twitter DM. I'll have to get to that. Been very busy. By the way, we've been covering best ball content, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed that. If you haven't already given it a watch, please do so. Do you know what, guys? I actually forgot to add limit opposing players 0. Sorry about that. Let me go back. Just an FYI, you will have to set that to 0 before you crunch your lineups because you do not want your pitcher going against your batters. Limits your upside. Sorry about that. I'll have to crunch again. Any questions, though, this far, once we wait for all my lineups to be crunched? Today has been insane for content. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane for content. I've been doing nothing but crunching numbers all day long. And we're getting a decent amount of all these teams. So that's great. And I'll tell you what to do once we have these teams. And I'm not going to use all 500 of these lineups. These are actually just telling me what different combinations I can get. And then now I'm going to look at the ownership, okay? After these are all done. Once I start looking at the ownership, then that dictates what contest I'm entering, or I can look at the contest, and then that will dictate what lineups I'm putting into the contest, okay? It's all about size. Like I said, if you guys go back to the very first part of my video, you'll understand why. It's all about the size of the contest, okay? All about ownership. The one thing is that you guys, the one benefit you guys have with being a Patreon member is that you know the cards that everybody has. That is the biggest benefit to have, all right? Biggest benefit to have. Two game, you'll want one bat versus pitcher, right? I'd say max, like absolute max, probably 2 or 3. Absolute max. Can you reserve a contest and upload lineups into that contest? Yes, you can. I can teach you guys how to do that after we're done here. Yeah, I can definitely teach you how to do that. That's actually something you'll have to know how to do once players are ruled out, because players on the last part of the slates, or the last few games, they're coming in at very low ownership, and you will get people that are ruled out from that team. You have to go back and use a swaptomizer and then get those guys into your lineup. That's a huge advantage. So if you don't know how to do that, I will show you how to do that at the end of this video. All right, so our benchmark is at 203. This is the highest owned possibility that we can get. Yes, it's just an estimation, but it gives us a good idea on how much to differentiate yourself in these lineups. So if we sort lineups, if you uploaded my projections, my ownership projections, to Fantasy Cruncher, then you would sort by my projections. But since I have the full version that can sort by ownership, same difference. Sort by ownership. And now we have the highest here, 187, and it goes all the way down. All right? And it should be a 5-stack of either the Cubs or Minnesota or Colorado. It should be up here, okay? All right, so now that we have our lineups, let's talk about where to enter these things. All right? Go to your contests. You guys can open up your phone app. You guys can enter in a contest size for me if you want, okay? Go ahead and enter a contest size. I'm going to pick one out myself. Let's say, I'm just going to be looking at the app right now. 7 o'clock games. Let's go to featured, and let's go down to... All right, let's go to this 3 max, $75, 151 people. 151. That's like a medium-sized GBP. 151, okay? Here is the formula, and I've showed this many times. I even have this in the strategy video. 151 divided by 2. 75.5 will round up to 76. You take the benchmark, which is 203 minus 76, and you get 127. All right, well, that's 187. So we go down to 127, and those lineups will tell me if it's enough to differentiate myself to win that GPP. Anything above 127 is just simply not enough, which means they'll be higher owned guys, and even if they do well, you're not going to jump that much, and it's the wrong contest for you, okay? 127 is the lineup that I need to have, okay, to differentiate myself, all right, for a 151-person contest. So we're going to scroll all the way down, 127 combined ownership. You guys can see how different I have to actually get to win that contest. So many people are stuck to the chalk. All right, we're in the 127s here. 127, this one right here, 48,900. That's a good lineup to have. It looks like Houston Astros. Okay, so let's double check here. Let's go back to the Astros. Are they a good leverage stack? Again, we're trying to find still leverage in this range. 1.1% actually isn't too bad. Does it beat out the highly inflated Chicago Cubs? Yes, it does. Does it beat out the Rockies? Yes, it does. So if we go back to our leverage sheet and we kind of compare the teams that are in front of it, teams that are around it, are the A's better? Because there's an A's lineup right next to it. We have to decide what lineups we're putting in here. Are the A's good? The A's. No, they're actually not. So Houston looks to be the best team around that spot. Kansas City, how about Kansas City? Are they even on here? Kansas City, ooh, they're a good one. Good leverage spot right there. Because it allows me to get in 2 very good pitchers, allows me to get in some Kansas City guys, and then it allows me to get in some Houston with some chalk. So this looks to be a 5-2 stack with Houston, Kansas City, and the Twins. Well, guess what? If that is one of your 3 entries in that $75 contest, that puts you in a very good spot to take down that GPP. And that's the lineup I'd be putting in there. That I'd probably go back and include some Houston. I probably wouldn't include the Angels, probably because they're not that good as far as leverage. But let's go down to Cleveland, because there's a Cleveland stack right here. Cleveland, they're not that good either. The Angels again, Cleveland. Milwaukee, is Milwaukee a good stack? Milwaukee's a pretty good one, so I'd probably put Milwaukee in there. But that is my process, okay, for 151 people, all right? And then I just got a question about the big boy contest, big guy GPP. So last night I had the Angels, the Cubs, and the White Sox in that mid-range GPP. Yes, they aren't the best leverage stacks on the sheet, but they'll come in at virtually no ownership in that specific contest for 151 people. Nobody will be playing Milwaukee. Everybody's going to be playing the Rockies. Everybody's going to be playing the Chicago Cubs. Everybody's going to be playing these high-owned teams. I guess, does that make sense right now? So this leverage sheet, guys, is not just my Patreon, me posting that post and saying, hey, my favorite leverage stacks are these 5 teams, play them in everything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, hey, these are the best leverage teams on the slate. Utilize leverage sheet still. Pick your contest. I can't tell you how many times that I've said to other people that have DM'd me and not found success. Contest selection is their number one, the number one thing that is wrong with their process. Okay. Let's do the big boy GPP. Sure. Obviously, if we do, let's look at the size of this. 26,117 people. All right, so the benchmark's 203, right? Well, 26,117 divided by 2 is, okay, all right, 13,058. All right, sounds good. 203 minus 13,000, was it 58? Okay. All right, now we have to look for a combined ownership that's going to be negative 12,855. Obviously, that does not work for that big of a GPP. All right, obviously, this does not work for that big of a GPP, right? This formula only works for the contests that get, I'd say on a typical 10-game slate, they get to that, I guess it would be over 200 people, 200, 300 people, where it starts to make sense because the combined ownership would be on a 400-person contest. Divide by 2, that's 200. 203 minus 200 is 3%. Obviously, you don't want to get that different to win that contest, right? I mean, you have to use kind of common sense when you're utilizing this. For big boy GPPs, let's talk about this. Well, now we can go back to our leverage sheet here, right? This is exciting for me because now we can get back and say, all right, which one of these teams put me in the best position to take down a big GPP? That's where you can look at this column, okay? That's where the ownership doesn't make sense, where these guys have the most upside. By the way, I was actually pretty interested to see that San Francisco is on my top leverage stack. I like that because they're playing in Coors. They're all very expensive. I thought a lot of people would still be on San Francisco, but they're not. So what I would do is look for the green guys here, okay? And I'd basically knock out a bunch of teams here that don't make sense. So if you go back to your advanced settings here, go back to your team stacks, make sure that's still 0. Go back to your team stacks. All right, now let's make the exposure 0 for my 2 and my 5 stacks. Sorry. Let's make this 0. Let's go back and only include the green ones for the big guys, okay? Let's include Oakland, San Diego, San Francisco looks good. The Dodgers look good. And Arizona, let's use 5 teams. Let's hope one of those 5 teams can get me a takedown. So who did I say? I said Oakland with the best leverage spot. I said San Diego was in there. San Francisco. And who was the last team? Who am I missing? I can even throw the White Sox in there. You want? Let's just throw the White Sox in there. I'm missing a team, but whatever. You guys get the point, okay? So, again, I'm looking for leverage, and I'm looking to take this thing down. Well, let's look at the ownership here. If the ownership is really this low on these teams, which it generally is, if you look on the Oakland, they basically have bottom-of-the-barrel ownership. If I'm going to take down a GPP, this team right here, if they're in the optimal stack, I'm taking that thing down. Okay? Same thing can be said for San Diego. Same thing can be said for San Francisco, which, again, is surprising. I still don't get it. Do you generally do a 5-2-1 or do you do a 5-3? It depends. I usually do a 5-2-1 because Colorado's still on the slate, and yes, I would love to fade them, but more than likely they're going to put up enough runs for it still to make sense to have some of those guys in my lineup. So I typically, I try to include at least that one spot for chalk. That's it. It really depends on the slate. And again, this is one thing that a lot of people don't get correctly. A lot of people assume if you get the advanced settings right and you cast this net of teams that goes into a big GPP, you'll win it. That's not the case. It's not about the advanced settings. It's about what teams you're putting into that contest, okay? More than likely, if there's a 10-game slate, I'm not only doing 5 teams, but again, I'm trying to get your mind going right. I probably include 10 teams, probably half the field, maybe a little bit less than half the field, okay? Let's go ahead and make this 2-stack. Let's make this 10. All right. And let's just run this. And now, when I run these lineups, and again, my fantasy cruncher's lagging. Hold on, guys. I've been crunching too many lineups. What I'd probably do at this point is, now that I know I have very low ownership in my 5 stacks, I'd probably crunch 150 and just go with those 150. And then as the slate went on, I'd late swap and I'd swap my different players, utilizing another thing I'm going to show you guys. But what this is doing is it's guaranteeing that I have very low owned stacks. Okay, the Dodgers, if they go off, I'm going to take down the GPP. San Francisco, if they go off, I'm going to take down the GPP. I'm basically limiting my pool so that my chances to take down that slate are very high. Okay, so if I look at an Oakland-Milwaukee stack, like, can you imagine if both those teams did very well? This is going to take it down 100%. 100%. Can you imagine if San Diego and Houston, which happens to be in another decent spot, this is a very contrarian stack, I'm going to take it down. It's going to, and you guys will see, if you do it this way, you'll notice how much better you get in those big GPPs. All right? Now, I also want to say, if you are just playing big GPPs, expect to lose. Expect to lose a lot. Okay? Because, again, you're limiting the size of your pool, and the chances that these teams, these low-owned teams, these low-owned leverage stacks are going to be in the optimal are not that great. But when they do, you will take it down and you will make a lot of money. That's a guarantee. Also, if you're just playing cash, when the cash misses, expect to make no money. All right, expect to make it in these other contests, these mid-range, these big GPPs. Last night, these awkward stacks like the Angels did pretty well. The Oakland A's actually did pretty decent. A lot of these teams that were in these awkward spots did well, so my mid-range GPPs did well, but none of the low-owned ones did. And I barely made money. You guys saw the contest. Some of them I made a little bit of money. Some of them I lost a little bit. But overall, I made money because I played the contest right. All right, it's about sitting down at the right table, playing the right cards. Again, you are at Texas Hold'em, and you get to pick your cards. If you guys are missing that, I went on a small analogy. At the very beginning of the video, you guys will have to go back. I tried to explain it and explain the process you should have playing DFS. Okay, it's all about ownership. It's all about ownership all the time. I don't care what anybody tells you. Stats don't matter if the guy's 100% owned. Stats don't matter whatsoever about the player. I don't care if there's a 90% chance that the team's going to win. If they're 100% owned, it does not matter. You play the 10% team. You play that 10% team, and you play it to win. You play it so that you can take down that slate when that team does win. All right. But that's how you do it. All right. So, any more questions before I move on to late swaps? Going on to how to change teams when you have lineups already reserved. Do you guys have any questions before I move on? I'm going to go ahead and move on and wait for the questions to come in. But let's just hypothetically, let's say I enter a contest with a reserved lineup. Actually, I'll just do it right now. Let's go to a 10-game slate. Let's say I am entering a let's just reserve my 3-person contest right now. Empire Maker. I like to scout out my competition before I enter my contest, by the way. Yes. I know. It's kind of a alright, I like both of these guys. These guys aren't that good. It's kind of like a childish way out of playing the big sharks. But you know what? That's smart, right? I'm not gonna play these big sharks if I'm gonna lose. So what's the chalk lineup look like, right? Let's go back. And what's the chalk lineup? By the way, this chalk lineup will change by slate lock. So you guys can steal this lineup, that's fine, but it will change, I promise you. That's why I always say subject to change when I have the cheat sheet initially up. Yeah, I was so surprised that the Cubs were so chalky. By the way, I can't see the chat right now. If you guys are spamming questions, I can't see it right now. I'm so surprised that the Cubs are chalky. Why are they over Colorado? They aren't even that cheap. Whatever. So, like, a team that I would avoid tonight is probably the Cubs, and I would rather die with that stance. Like, the Cubs don't make sense tonight. They just don't for the ownership that they're at. All right, there's $50 in. There's my 3-man chalk. Is there a tool to find out who the sharks are? Well, real quick, I'll go over that. Maybe I'll save that for another video. But actually, Video Grinders has a plugin that allows you to, first of all, see the margin and overlay. If you guys don't know what those are, again, that's a topic for another video. It allows you to see margin and overlay, and it allows you to scroll over and see what guys are in the contest before you click it on desktop. So right now, Empire Maker 2, you guys already know he's a shark. He's in that contest. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Plugin. You go to rotogrinders.com, or I think if you search in Google Rotogrinders plugin, it's one of the first things that come up. No questions. All right, that's good, right? You guys are either completely lost or you have all the questions answered. All right, so let's pretend I have that contest entered, right? And you ready for this? 6:55. The lineups change. Every lineup changes. It goes to chaos, right? We're all scrambling. Well, you don't. First of all, there's two different ways you can do it. First of all, edit entries is what I like to do. You download this, right? And you go to here, and this shows your lineup, right, based in a CSV format. And what you can do is you can literally just erase this, okay? And what you can do is go back to your Fantasy Cruncher, export lineup, download, and now it comes out with a new Excel file. You copy this, copy, boom. I'm putting in the exact same lineup, but you guys get the point. I wish it would copy, right? Okay. All right. And now the new lineup's in here. Click save. I probably didn't even need to do that to show you guys. You click upload. You go to downloads and you click on that. I have so many downloads. And now it's uploaded, and now the lineup has been changed, okay? Whatever lineup you had. Now the cool thing is you can go to the late swaptimizer here, and if you go back to lineups, swap players, not swap players, edit lineups, and you download this again, you go to swaptimizer, and this is actually awesome because this is good for NBA. It shows you the contests, or it shows you the lineups that you have, and then when you go to swaptimize based on whatever settings you had before you went to this tab, it swaps based on that. So because I had my five stacks on, it now will automatically swap whatever players weren't playing or anything, and it will put them into that lineup. Then you just export. You go back, upload, boom, and now that lineup has been changed to the Angels lineup that I have. I can actually show you. I can prove it to you. Ready? Lobby. Lineups. Upcoming, yeah. So all these guys, these Angels are in here. All right. But that's how you do it. So imagine that you're doing this on a mass level. Imagine that you have 150 lineups, and the process is still the same. You can go to late swaptimizer, and you can do it that way. Or if you want your lineups all organized based on contest, if I pull up on the right side, or on the left side rather, it shows you the contest name. And it doesn't show you the size though. You just kind of have to either note that or remember it. Well, yeah, it does. Three player right there. You can mass enter your lineups like that. Okay. With the use of Excel and Fantasy Cruncher, I believe are the best tools that you can have for this. Guys, you can make a second income if you do it correctly, and if you pay attention to detail, especially with MLB. The MLB DFS in general is the easiest way to observe ownership and just realize that the public is, well, they're not bright. They're not very good at playing these contests. You will realize very easily that you have an edge if you're playing the right contest, if you're playing the ownership correctly. And wow, my voice is dry. I have no water in front of me. I think I'm going to end on that note unless you guys have any questions. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully you learned something. And if you didn't, I will keep this video up for review. Ask me any questions you guys have about this video. Ask me any questions through Twitter, Patreon. Again, I'm here for you guys. You guys have already paid me for the month, so I am now your servant. I need to help you guys out. I need to help you guys understand DFS. That is the main goal with Daily Grind Fantasy. That is the main goal for me to you. Did you go over cash games edge already? There is no edge in cash game. You ready? This is how you find the edge in cash game. You upload my ownerships, okay, as an actual projection. Let's do that real quick. All right. So if I have my leverage sheet right here in front of me, I upload all these guys. Copy, right? You go to upload data. You click V. You go to the ownership, copy, and you upload that as a projection. Now, these are uploaded as a value. I'll make sure my randomness isn't on. It was. Change that to 0. I take off all my stacks. Delete. Delete. Okay. And if I upload, or if I crunch one lineup, it should be the chalk lineup that I originally had. And it's slightly different because either ownership's updated, they probably did. They probably updated already, and I just don't have it updated in Patreon. But it's very close to the same one, okay? So Acuna actually got a bump in ownership, it looks like, because he's starting, because he's in the number 1 spot. So that would be my chalk lineup, okay? But again, I'm crunching based on the value, which would be the ownership projection. It's the exact same thing as crunching for ownership. All right, awesome, Murray. Thanks for the support. All right, guys. Honestly, this is what I'm about to do. I'm about to take a 30-minute nap, come back, update all the MLB content, and then I will be in the chat to answer any questions. The reason I'm taking a 30-minute nap is I have literally been talking all day long and crunching numbers. I'm exhausted. Up since 6 o'clock. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the content. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and end it like this. Yes, I would be playing that for cash because it's the highest owned roster. That's all you need to do. We make it very easy at Daily Grind Fantasy. We don't complicate things whatsoever. We don't give you edge cash plays or anything. Yes, there technically, I guess, could be. But again, you want to play the edge in GPPs. You don't want to play the edge in cash games. All right? If the chalk hits, you're going to cash in double ups. You're still going to make money. But again, I don't like double ups. I like 3-man contests. I like very small GPPs for profit. How do you program settings for FC Lite when you can only crunch 20 lineups? Good question. If you're only a 20 lineup person, you do the extreme. What I would do is crank up my randomness to like 1,000. Honestly, even 2,000. That would be the only difference to make sure I'm getting those low-owned lineups. But if you're using low-owned stacks like the ones I had referred to in my leverage sheet, you should be getting low-owned lineups anyway. But that's what I would do. I would crank up the randomness. I got that question before. Just crank up your randomness, set my ownership projections as your actual projections, and then let the optimizer do your work. All right? Make sure your pool is condensed so you get the lineups you want. Again, Fantasy Cruncher is not to help you win. It's to help you utilize it the way you want it to help you win. Okay? It's not going to be some quick fix. Fantasy Cruncher is a tool that you use using my leverage sheet so that you can win GPPs. You can't sign up for Patreon and assume you're automatically going to win if you just play my leverage spots. You have to play it in the right contest. I promise you will find success. I promise you if you play it right. Guys, I'm not perfect either. Sometimes I play the contest wrong. Sometimes I make mistakes. Yesterday, I had guys in my Mets lineup that weren't even playing. I make mistakes all the time. Don't worry. You guys will get the hang of it. Yep, and then Puna, I think I'm saying that right. Absolutely. So he just also made a good comment. By the way, shout out to the mods all the time. Thanks for doing and thanks for working. You guys are the best. He's also a coach. If you guys have any questions about any of this, he's in our Discord. If you guys haven't already linked your Discord, please do so. I'm in the Discord chat pretty much all day. Okay, it is a full-time job. This is my full-time job. This is what I do. Okay, for a living. I'm passionate about it. Ask me questions. DM me. I will get to them. I have a lot of DMs, but I will get to yours. I'm going to go ahead and sign off, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this was very helpful. With all that being said, guys, have a great day. Let's cash.
grew.